Cool. It's 8:02 in my time zone. So let's kick off. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining this month's Adobe Analytics Office Hour today. We're very excited to have you. For those who don't know me, I'm Victoria Shao, one of the Adobe Analytics Global Champions this year. So before I kick off today's session, I want to gently remind everyone this session is being recorded. And if you're uncomfortable, feel free to drop off. And let's kick off. Cool. I might start with a quick introduction of myself. So I'm joining from Melbourne, Australia. Today is actually 8 p.m. in my local area. So good night. But also good morning and good afternoon for people joining from different time zones. I have been using Adobe Analytics for like a long time. And actually, my Adobe knowledge from multiple digital transformation projects, starting from AEM, Target, Campaign, Audit Manager, and of course, Adobe Analytics. So up till today, Adobe Analytics is still my favorite product. So today I'm very honored to be your host today, joined by two very talented champion and community advisor today. So with that, I may hand over to Ivana. Over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Victoria. Hello, everyone. I'm saying hello from London, so for me it's a bit more early in the day. I'm Ioana. I work for IBM Consulting, and I've been doing analytics work for the past around 6-7 years. I'm also an Adobe Analytics Champion, and I'm mainly focusing on digital transformation as well, optimization, insights, and yeah, very happy to be here. Over to Krishna.
Good morning, everyone. This is Krishna Musko, joining from Boston, Massachusetts. This is 6 o'clock in the morning for me. So, good morning. I've been using Adobe Analytics from past 6 to 7 years. I work for Amica Insurance, and my main focus in my job is working on the digital insights part, as well as experience targeting with working on the target. We do use AEM, but I have like a little bit knowledge on that. But my main focus is on Adobe Analytics and target. Okay, let's get started then. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Krishna, and appreciate joining us from such an early time in your area. So cool. So before I start sharing my screen, so basically for those who are not familiar with office hours, basically every month we collect questions from anyone using Adobe Analytics. So we'll be going through some pre-submitted questions today, and we have reserved time for people who joining us online today. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop in the chat. With that, I'll start sharing my screen to kick today off. Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
All good? Yeah, awesome. Cool. So welcome to May's APAC and EMEA Adobe Analytics office hours. Again, this session is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel in the next few days post the session. So if you're interested in watching this session or any past office hour videos, feel free to actually have a look at our YouTube channel. So I'll post it in the chat. I know Mandy have done that before, but just in case anyone missed that, this is our YouTube channel specifically designed and set up for Adobe Analytics Champion office hours and a few other user group activities. So not only APAC ones, but like the North American office hours are also included in there. So please check out. And as mentioned, every month we collect questions questions from anyone. So you got questions, we got answers. So this month is actually a short month post the Easter break. So we got 3 questions today. We'll go through them one by one. And as mentioned, we have reserved some time for some additional questions after that. And today, the first question is actually a very interesting one. Makes me very happy. We actually got a question focused on Adobe Analytics Champion program itself. So the person basically the person asked, can strategic users of Adobe Analytics become a champion? So I believe other than people actually utilizing Adobe Analytics as a business practitioner on a daily basis, it seems like we got strategic users who are also willing to learn more about the program. So actually, we just had a webinar, I believe it's a month ago, where the champion program team hosted a session to share like who's actually eligible to apply and what makes a good application. So yes, so Mandy just shared a link in our chat box. So feel free to click on it and have a look. And so this event has actually invited champions from AEM champion program, Makito, and Adobe Analytics. So at the moment, we have 3 champion programs running in parallel. And Mandy is actually our representative from Adobe Analytics Champion Program, who shared her experience in this webinar. So feel free to please check out like what can make a good champion application, like how to demonstrate you're passionate to this program. But just to answer this question, in general, anyone who uses Adobe Analytics and has a passion for making a positive impact in the analytics community is eligible to apply. So please, if you're interested, please apply. We'd love to see anyone who's passionate about AA, who's willing to share your expertise to the wider community to join our program. So please apply. So as Mandy also mentioned in the chat, applications are currently open for this year's champion class and are open until June the 7th. So there's still 2 weeks time to submit your application. So please apply. Cool. Awesome. So this is one question that makes me like particularly happy. Like Ivana, is there anything you want to share from a champion program perspective as well? Like you mentioned you are first year champion.
Yeah,
How do you
I think
feel?
you've covered the important points there, right? If you feel like you could have a good impact, if you feel like you can help the community from a different point of view, it's not necessarily the day-to-day user, but it still brings some insight that can help other users. So absolutely, if you tick all these boxes, have a look at the session we had on a standout application. See if you feel like you cover all these points, and yeah, apply. That's what I would encourage everyone to do.
Yeah, awesome. I personally do want everyone to apply. This is where I actually met all the champions across the world, like especially the ones on this call. So without this program, I won't be knowing there are like people like me out there, like who are also passionate about this. I believe in many organizations, potentially you are the only AA expert in your organization, like probably working solo, carry the organization's whole digital analytics strategy by yourself, but like there actually a community out there you can chat, you can discuss, you can ask questions. So really, I highly recommend anyone who are interested to apply. Cool. So that's the first question. And the second and the third, that's where we actually dive into the actual Adobe Analytics, either technical questions or technical implementation or the reporting questions. So I believe the first one we had today is actually one on app analytics. So the question is, we have many apps in our portfolio. We are curious to see what is the activity on apps in the first 30 days upon installation. How can we isolate this traffic only within workspace? We try using sequential segments, but it has proven to be more difficult than anticipated. We're interested in overall consumption, video consumption, page view consumption, only in the first 30 days. So I think one thing I love about Adobe Analytics is there are always multiple ways to solve a problem. So I want Christiana, do you want to take this one on before I potentially share my approach?
I think there are like a couple of components where you can look at, which is like based on the first launch. Like if you are specifically looking at by the app version or else just the first launch of the app, so maybe just filter out by the app launch or the first launch date in the components. So I mean that's like a pretty much like a just a brief, not the brief, like a, just a overall thing to look at, because like I don't work much on the mobile apps, but I'll say like starting with that would be helpful, and maybe create segments based on those like versions, or else as well as like the launch dates, and then set the date range for the 30 days what you're looking at, and then maybe you'll get data in those.
Yeah.
Sorry if I like
Thank you.
don't answer like much on that, because like I have very minimum knowledge on the app, so I specifically my work specifically on the website fully.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Krishna. So yes, I think I do work a bit on the app space. And in terms of my approach, so for the first launch one, in terms of, so if this person is actually on this call, feel free to drop more details you want. So basically, it really depends on how accurate you want this number to be. Like for example, the first launch not only includes the data for the first installation, but for any reinstallation after updates, it's also considered, will be counted in the first launch. So for this particular question, if you really want to have a very crystal clear, like crystal accurate number, I would actually, if in my approach, I would actually set up a dimension based on the installation date. So definitely manual implementation, additional effort in the implementation is required. I would recommend set up a dimension to capture the installation date and capture it in EVA, and then set a condition to include the users whose installation date is within the first, set up a condition to only include installation dates as a rolling first 30 days. So that's actually my approach, and then build a segment based on that dimension and time period condition, and apply that to whatever metrics you want to use, potentially like page views or for video consumptions. If you want to go down the details, potentially you need to set up some metrics to capture, like for example, video view time, video completion rates, things like that. So it really depends on your business needs. In my view, some additional implementation to capture those behaviors is required. But if this person is actually on this call, feel free to drop in more details to your question, so we can address your question in more details. So, yeah. So that's my view. Hopefully that can give you a starting direction to create these metrics and segment.
Yep. So a quick thing to add, like before we use, I mean, right now we are just transitioning to Adobe for the mobile app analytics too. But previously we used another like reporting channel, reporting application, so which we used to have specifically passing the first install date for that mobile app. I think it's the same thing that you're talking about, right, Victoria? So in that, based on the first install date, we used to get the info of how old, from how long this customer is using our mobile app. And then the another thing where we use the app version most, especially when we launched the new app version, we used to look at for the specifically for the first 2 weeks, or first month, specifically on the crashes too, which will help us improve more to do the fixes. So that's the two things that we always making sure of first, knowing how long the customer is using the mobile app with the first install date, and then using the app version, which looking at how many users are still using the old app version, so that we can uh, give us some notification or pop-ups in the app for targeted to those specific app versions, asking them to install the most recent one too. So yeah, that's also helpful to know more details on the app version.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna. And I want to echo in that. I think so. This person mentioned we try to use sequential segments, but it has proven to be more difficult than anticipated. So for scenario like this not only applies to this particular question, but whenever you found there's challenges in actually, for example, there's too complicated segments is required to solve your business problem, actually have a chat with your dev team, just like Christiana mentioned, capturing a first installation date might be much easier for your dev team than you spending hours in Adobe Analytics Workspace trying to create a most complicated segments ever. So do work with your dev team, pass your business requirements, and brainstorm together to figure out the most efficient way to solve the business problem. So that would be one of my recommendations. So cool. I think we covered question 2. Let's move on. This one, I believe, is to do with also with segmentation, but with some conversion calculation as well. So let's see. We have multiple workflows on the website, and I wanted to see how I can better track conversions when visitors search within multiple workflows in a session or by visitor segment. I used Venn diagram, but it only gives 3 workflows to compare. Is there a different way? So, Ivana, do you want to share some advice on this one?
Sure, I can. I guess the first thing to start with, if we've got the person who submitted this in the call, it would be good to hear a bit more detail about it. What do we mean by workflows? If it's just different sections of your website, different, I don't know. It would be good to understand that detail so we can give the best advice possible, customized to your needs. If we're talking about a search, so let's say if it's an actual um, term search in your app or your website, and you want to see within different scenarios if that leads the user to convert or submit or whatever your goals are, you can always build different segments then you apply that metric you've defined as a conversion and try to understand which one performs best. You don't necessarily need to, in my opinion, to use a Venn diagram. You can have other visualization that can help you understand which one is performing best. Even a simple basic table where you've got different predefined I don't know, visitor types or different touch points that the user has gone through in your app or website, and then putting that against the conversion, it should help you understand which one is doing better. What I also like to do when as I said, this really depends how your app or website is working. If you, let's say, different, oh, we've got some comments, different journey. So there is the same start, same end, but okay. Cool. Yeah. So I guess if you have those journeys, then you would need to have them defined quite precisely if you want to know exactly they went through that. So maybe either having a segment where you say these touch points have been ticked off, or if it needs to be sequential, you can do that as well. But what I was about to say is that if I work with, I don't know, within my website, I have specific more complex apps or like single page apps. When I work with the development team, I always like to have these component names defined, so I know that the user is working within a specific component at a given time. And that really helps me if they go from step 1 to step 10, understand exactly where they were at each point, if there's drop-off points. So as Victoria was mentioning earlier, you can also make this more efficient and more detailed by feeding these requirements from beginning, if that makes sense. I at least that's something I find very helpful. And it when we're talking conversion, you can also understand exactly where's the drop-off point that's happening within the journey, not just which one performs best, but getting more granular with it. That's kind of it for me.
Thank you, Ivana. A very detailed answer. Just to share my view as well before potentially I'll hand over to Krishna if you want to add. So basically, I think that for me, potentially, if when chart is not the best visualization for you, I would recommend, for example, flow. If you really understand the detailed, like different customer journey. So, for example, you can put in your customer metrics and your dimension to limited. But just in case, if this person is not familiar with the flow diagram, is actually one of my favorite page name. Let's see if I have page category name. Okay, so for example, search keyword. Sorry, let me search keyword.
It was in the, when you were scrolling, it was a bit.
Yeah, sorry, it's a bit messy here. But I just want to use it as a quick demo. It doesn't necessarily want like to address this question specifically. But if you really want to use different visualization to show the different journey, I would recommend like the flow diagram and use some of the and like, for example, using like either what you want to track a specific visit or visitors. But if you really want to understand like the conversion perspective, I would recommend Fallout. And what I would do is, like, for example, you have, let me see, copy, duplicate. And what I'll do is I'll use different segmentations to calculate, to show the different conversions. For example, visitors as a default segment. But like, for example, you can limit visitors or dragging in some detailed metrics, detailed segments, like you can create based on your business needs. Like, for example, what's the exactly action you want to capture, what exactly segments you want to use to compare. And then you can basically compare the different segments and track their conversions and see whether there's a difference in the So in this case, basically I'm comparing for all visitors versus like desktop only visitors, what's their different behavior, like which one converts better. And then you can also, if you have an app or like you want to compare different like marketing channels, browser type, device type, customer type, 4-hour chat is my favorite chat to compare different segments and compare their conversions. And then potentially you can also like compare them like side by side if you want to keep it cleaner. That's kind of my recommendation, but it really depends on like what specific problem you're trying to solve. So potentially for this one, potentially you can create a segment based on exact search term to compare different search terms, how different search terms are performing in your workflow. Like for example, searching for, I don't know, like credit card versus like cards in general would like end in better conversion. I don't know, it really depends on like your business. But that's basically my approach I'll share. So Krishna, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, so for like multiple workflows or like multiple flows within the for the user journey within the same visit, you want to track all together. You can use the flow, but the more I mean, if you have I mean, in the chart, it was asked about like we do have like a specific start and end. We want to know like in between. So that's also you can do in the flow as well. But like for me, I do like more in the fallout, which is like same thing. You can differentiate by the you can have that report built by either visit level or the visitor level. So if you are building by the visit level, then you can add like all the steps that you wanted to track, like defined in a specific flow, maybe by your business, or like how do you want to track. You can add all those in the flow, in the fallout, sorry, in the fallout, and then you can select that for like each step. You can select the drop down by either it's a eventual path or next hit. So I know, like some like flows we want to track specifically, like this step should happen only after this one, and like this is the next hit. So in that case you can select the next hit. Or in some cases, like you want to know, like in the visit level, like if the customer visited like this step and then step 2, then you can go with the eventual hit as well. So which will give you like a more add, it will add like more data or else more data points into that, for the if you add that drop down. But I'd say, like fallout is also like a very good option to look at specific, this is specific to a single workflow. So if you want to look at like multiple together, then going with the flow would be good. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Cool. I think, yeah. I think that actually addresses most of the questions, most of the pre-submitted questions we received, as mentioned, because due to Easter break, this is actually a short month. So if anyone wants to submit any question chat, please do so.
Yeah, I think it would be good to get any sort of topics or anything anyone is interested in. We can debate amongst ourselves, or we can get input from the chat as well. So please use our time. We've got a question from Mandy, actually, for our speakers. If there's no other question, what are some of the most common problems / issues you see in your organizations related to analytics implementation or reporting? That's a very, very interesting one. And I'm happy to start. Something that's kind of always at the top of my mind, and probably because most recently with one of my assignments, it's been an ongoing issue, and it took quite a lot of time to address it and to get on the right track, was aligning kind of campaign reporting. So obviously, as web analysts, we always looked at how the website is performing, where the users are coming from, and how all these sources of traffic / marketing channels were performing in terms of converting, in terms of bringing users. So we like to believe that we had a bit of an objective view of how that looks like, but obviously we always had to align with other teams we were working with that were in charge of different ad placements or marketing campaigns. And I think we try to stress how important it is to use campaign tracking codes to be able to correctly identify sources of traffic. So for me, that's one of my focus points, to always make sure we can validate the data from one end to the other. So not just what happens on the website and how that turns into sales or whatever other sources of data you have in your organization, but also the first touch points. So the first points that users interacts with your brand, with your company, how we can make sure those are accurately reported on. So yeah, I think it's all about data validation, about transparency, making sure you can put numbers against campaigns, against any sort of activity, and not just kind of wing it and then make sure it makes some sense when you have to report on a campaign, but actually be able to explain those numbers.
Yeah. Thank you, Ivana. We actually, so before, actually we got one question in the chat, which is very interesting, from Rahul. I want to publish AI segments to be used in Adobe Audience Manager for retargeting. Is there any cap on how many segments can be published? So why not validate it on the spot? So let's do it. So for segments, Rahul, I'm not sure whether you can see this down at almost at the bottom of my screen. Here it says Experience Cloud Publishing, segment publishing, because before this session, no segment has been pushed to be shared with Experience Cloud yet. So I still have 250 cap. So that's kind of the number I had across multiple organizations I have worked. I think potentially, if you really depends on license, potentially if you are on lower tier, it will be 75. So probably check with your account team like which tier you're on. But at the moment, I think because I'm using an AA demo workspace project, we kind of had the highest tier, so that's why we got 250 as a cap. But I do.
Yeah,
sorry.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, good.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Krishna. Yes, and I just want to quote it out that this not only publish the segments to Audience Manager, so in your Rahul, in your case, but also to target to any platform in the Experience Cloud as well. So all can be used. It's not only Audience Manager. So if you have Adobe Target, you can also use that as a segment for online personalization. Yeah. Cool. So Ivana also kindly has shared some Experience League reference in terms of the segment cap. Cool. Thank you, Rahul, for the question. So back to the for Mandy's question about some of the most common issues we see in our organizations. Krishna, do you want to share?
Yeah, so myself, at present, I'm working on a project where to bring all the marketing teams together into maybe bring them to a one page where the most used thing, which is the UTM parameter. So right now we do have different marketing teams using the UTM parameters, and then we do have like a few of the marketing vendors as well. So everyone has their own definitions for those values for the parameters like medium, source, and then the campaign. So we focus mainly on these three right now to streamline throughout the organization. So every team using the values as how they understand it. So right now I'm working on a way to bringing all them together and then use the centralized values so that we can get the data in Adobe Analytics in a very systematic way. So let's say for for Facebook, some teams using like a Facebook with the F capitalized, and then some teams using all small, and some teams using as FB, and some teams using FB in the lowercase. So we do get four different values. So my team specifically, like me, we are working on right now to bring all the teams and then use only one value, and then that we want to give them the predefined values for medium and source for coming up with the naming convention for the campaign, which is like a tricky part because every team has their different campaign names. So that's the kind of the not the issue, I'll say, but it's bringing all the teams together. It's a big thing. Everyone thinks that all is all good from my side, why there is an issue. So it's not specifically is there is any issue on that, but getting the data into the Adobe Analytics, look at only the source itself is we do have four values are for only one thing. So that's where we want to bring uh, the streamlined process for the UTM parameter values, which will help us going forward to looking into the data in a streamlined way, in a very systematic way. So yeah, that's the uh, tricky part right now in the project that I'm working on. So yeah, I hope everyone will we all get on the same page, and then get to use the parameters in a most effective way.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna, for sharing. I think that's definitely one the issue I'll be echoing as well. I think it's a common issue for the digital analytics team,
Yeah.
like in terms of the governance, the data governance. I actually heard about like a CJ potentially for the customer journey analytics as a way kind of to fix and clean the polluted data in some way. So I'm actually very eager to learn more about that feature. Because at this stage, I'm not sure about that, but in my past organizations, basically, once the data has been polluted, there's no way back. So yeah, definitely one of the issues I also believe many other organizations are having. So thanks for sharing. And if I like to share one more in terms of common problems and issues, I wouldn't say a problem issue, but some of the observation is for Adobe Analytics migration or either the implementation from scratch, I realized business are not spending that much time in actually shaping their business requirement document. Like it's because actually it is most critical, but and also should be the most time consuming part of the analytics implementation and setting up. However, notice the team are spending more time on the solution design reference and actual implementation rather than spending actual more focused time in the business requirement document itself. So I would really recommend like spending time with your marketing team, with the digital team, with all the teams that will actually be utilizing Adobe Analytics in your organization, gather as many as detailed requirement as possible in the first place before you sit down with the dev team to work out the solution design reference document. Because I do have seen organizations that kind of rush to the implementation but have to come back again because the most critical metrics and requirements are not captured in the first place, and that actually impacts the whole implementation and SDR as well. So I think that's something like, do keep in mind solution, the business requirement document, BRD is the foundation of everything. And I also recommend to review the BRD on like either yearly or quarterly, depending on how fast your business iterates, to review it and see whether everything captured there is still the latest requirements for your business. Like, as I recommend, like every year, sit down with the stakeholders, with the business practitioners, like review the BRD together and make sure it's always relevant to your business core metrics. So that's kind of my recommendation here. Cool. I think we have addressed everything. I actually just added something to the panel right before the session is about, I'm not sure whether people are actually utilizing the Experience League as often as we should do. So for the office hours, we run it every month. But if you really don't want to wait for a month's time for your questions to be answered, feel free to pop your questions to the Experience League. So I'll copy paste it in the chat. So we do have, so not only like 3 of us, 4 of us on this call, but we do have our champions actually watching this space, actively answering the questions on the Experience League. So I would really recommend you to have a look. And also, there are actually many people facing the same problem as you do. So you may find it very surprisingly that some of the questions might be already be answered in the Experience League. So please have a look. And other than that, if you found office hours valuable to you, you really want to join the next one. So for the June session, so Mandy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the June one will be a special edition because we'll be running it in French. Unfortunately, I couldn't speak French, so I couldn't join next one. But for anyone on the call who can speak French, just heads up, the June's version will be a special edition of the office hours. I believe after June, the next one will be in August. So please, so there will be email sending out. So feel free to register to those 2 events. Cool. Yeah. So Mandy just added to the chat that yes, we are starting to try and create some special sessions of office hours. So it turns out French one is only a start. We may potentially have more ones. I hope we have like a Mandarin ones in the near future. Okay. And there will be a special implementation focus session in the coming months too. So Mandy, will those sessions be recorded and uploaded to the same YouTube channel, like the user group YouTube channel? Yes, awesome. Awesome. So just if anyone's interested, I may just quickly share my screen because I feel like people are missing out in the YouTube channel. So we do have Adobe Analytics user groups on YouTube. So feel free to search for it. It should be the first result. As mentioned, not only it will include like the EMEA and APAC ones, but it also have the North American ones. So lots of contents in there. And not only office hours, we have user groups videos. We have some, like, for example, I saw Jen here. In-course summit presentation, like Jen share like some tips and tricks with the team, and summit slam dunks. So there are some like summit material on this as well, as long as all the past sessions on the YouTube channel. So please check it out. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing.
So I'd like to add a few more points on using the analytics committee as being a community advisor. I started using, even though I've been Adobe Analytics user from past 7 years, I started using community maybe from early last year, like starting from 2023 January or February. But from that time I've been very active in the community, and then I've been made a community advisor after maybe 5-6 months of my active participation, which I'm glad, and glad to be part of the community, or the esteemed people of community advisors too. I do get a chance to meet them in the Adobe Summit this year. But yeah, I'll say to all the participants who joined here, and who will be looking at the videos in the YouTube later. So make most use of the community. It's as Victoria mentioned. So maybe you have a question, but there is a solution already in the community posted there, because many people also having those similar issues. So even though without being posted, your question is being posted, you already had the answer in the community, you just had to search. So maybe if you post your question as well, it might get answered within a day, that's for sure. Because there are a lot of community advisors active, as well as the Adobe champions too, who will be looking at their looking at the community space every day. Even if the one champion or one community advisor miss, you will get answered, your question will get answered by another people as well. There are it's a big community of the advisors as well as the champions. And there's been a lot of webinars, or some sessions will be going on. I know there is one coming up, I think this next month, which is implementing web sdk step by step guide, which is also uh, uh, totally presented by the one of the Adobe Analytics champion, Megan. She works in USA only. I don't know much deep details about that, but it's a step by step implementation guide to web sdk. So please feel free to join that webinar if you are planning to move from app measurement to web sdk. So which will be helpful. Maybe they might be discussing about what are the issues you might be running into if you are implementing web sdk, or else if you are thinking about web sdk, just try to join. You will get more. And also regarding the Adobe champion application, I'm also trying to apply, which I haven't applied. I'm just gathering all the info, which is how you can contribute more to the community. So that's I think the most important thing to mention. So just yeah, apply. And even though I know it's a limited only for 40 people uh, will be selected as champion for analytics. So yeah, don't get discouraged. Even if you are not selected, that's fine. You have another ways as well for doing advocacy things, like a community advisor thing. And also, even though there is a couple of things from Adobe, as well as participating in the user groups as well. So yeah, just welcome if you are all not part of the community for the Adobe. So, and thank you for if you're already a community member, and then thank you for all the work you do. I'll just post the link about the web sdk one. Yep. Hope you'll join.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Christina. I'm not sure whether you have mentioned you're one of the the top most active community advisor for the AA on Experience League. So anyone on this call, if you have any questions, post it there. To keep Christina busy before the
Yeah,
office hours.
yep. On the weekends, or sometimes for long weekends, I won't answer. Even if I am busy, pretty much occupied with something. But for sure, I will have a one browser open for the community, but like even though if I'm not like answering, but it's open, maybe it's running in the background. But for sure, I will spend at least like 1 hour in a day for sure. I'll try.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before me, sometimes like Jen answers most of them.
Yeah, yeah. No one's going to beat Jen. Jen's
Yeah,
too strong.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Krishna. Cool. So Mandy, I think it's about time to close it up. Mandy mentioned thanks everyone for attending. If you haven't joined the Office Hours user group, signing up. So you'll get notified. Awesome. I'd like to thank you, Mandy, for being our tech lady, super lady in the background to make sure this session can go as smooth as possible. So thank you, Mandy. Also want to thank Krishna and Ivana for joining us from different time zones. Some are very challenging, but we made it. Thank you, everyone who has been staying with us until this moment. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
joining. Hope you have a good day.